Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
I can't release any details pertinent to the investigation as far as the mechanism and the cause, but the officers, the investigators, did conclude that the person responsible, the suspect involved, is Blair Lyons, the victim's husband.
I'm pretty excited to see I can greet the people without their mask on it, and also I don't need to keep asking about you should wear the mask on the hallway or the washrooms.
Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with a tragedy in LaSalle that might be difficult for some people to hear, and a warning that we are discussing a possible suicide. There is shock in the community as police search for a man suspected of killing his wife before reportedly jumping off the Ambassador Bridge. Police are now asking the community for help. Blair and Amanda Lyons are pictured here years ago. Now, Amanda has been found dead, and Blair is the suspect. This is where police found her Saturday morning, in the home they shared together with their 3 young children.
When the officers arrived, they've located the front door open, unlocked. They entered, and it was at that time that they discovered the crime scene.
Segan wouldn't say whether anyone else was home, nor would he reveal the cause of death or other details around how it may have happened. Police have been called here once before, but wouldn't reveal the details of why.
I can disclose that, to my knowledge, that he does not have a criminal history.
They had first been called to the home this weekend to do a wellness check after Windsor police found the couple's vehicle abandoned on the Ambassador Bridge.
We do have definitive evidence that he did jump off the bridge.
Search and rescue teams have been looking for Blair, but have been unable to find him. Segan says there's a chance he may have gotten out of the water, but says it's unlikely he survived. Meanwhile, police are hoping the public can help.
One thing that we're still looking for is to try to piece together a timeline. And the timeline is that we're looking for is where was Blair Lyons between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. We have video of his vehicle being on Huron Church Line traveling north towards the Ambassador Bridge.
Segan is asking anyone with information from Saturday morning to contact police. Meanwhile, Blair's immediate family members have told CBC this is a difficult time, and they are asking for privacy. CBC did not hear back from Amanda's immediate family members. Of course, the children are top of mind for many tonight. A fundraising campaign has been set up to support them during this time. And if you or someone you know is struggling, here's where you can get help. Canada's Suicide Prevention Service can be reached at 1-833-456-4566, or you can text 45645. Turning now to other local news. Today, masks are no longer required in most public spaces in Ontario, including schools and retail settings. It's a change that's put a smile on many faces, ones that we can now see. But after months of masking up and the pandemic still ongoing, not everyone is comfortable with doing away with them just yet. Reporter Ashta Shetty is covering this story for us tonight, and she is live from Tecumseh Mall. Ashta, what is the atmosphere there today?
Actually, Kat, there are a lot of smiles here. A lot of people already going maskless. But the real difference here is for retail workers who no longer have to enforce that masking mandate. I actually went around Windsor today speaking to local shop owners, and they told me that staff and customers have really been looking forward to a day like this.
Because I think the more rules that the government put on our responsibility, the harder for our small businesses, and of course it's affect to the economy. But then when I think about the mask, I'm a little bit worried for my family, because my parents are over, almost 70 years old, and then I also have infant 3 months old. I worry for them, so I decided I still wear mask while serving food to make me feel somewhat that I can protect them.
If someone is afraid that their father is sick and they're afraid of potentially getting something in any type of scenario because they've already been hibernating for 6 months because their dad has ALS or something that is potentially life-threatening of any sort of disease getting to them, then that's completely understandable, and I'm more than willing to put a mask on for their safety as well, right? Becomes the question of, if you feel that nervous though, why are you going out? It does become that question, but at the same time, I understand that you gotta get out and you have to live your life.
Pretty exciting to see I can greet the people without their mask on it, and also I don't need to keep asking about you should wear the mask on the hallway or the washroom, so I'm so excited. We try to make ourselves to protect ourselves, and not only us, and for the elderly people, elder customer, or somebody like with immune system customers. So.
I think I would go masks off. In a dental setting, we send out and we tell patients if you're sick, don't come. It's not like a normal doctor office where people are going there sick, so the need for a mask is more, but at the same time, you know, you just got to kind of follow the rules that we're given.
That voice you heard was Dr. Gary Ross. Masks are currently still mandatory at all dental offices, but he says they're not necessary and that he wished they'd be gone soon. Besides dental offices, there are also other settings such as public transit, healthcare facilities, long-term care. Those places, in all those places, masks are still mandatory until the end of April, and that marks the end of all remaining public health rules.
Thanks for this, Ashta. CBC's Ashta Shetty live from Tecumseh Mall tonight. And today also marked a big change for students. They've gone from remote learning to cohorting and distancing to now also being able to finally remove those masks. Video producer Mike Evans stopped by Catholic Central High School to see how students and staff are adjusting.
Was the first day where our mask mandates were lifted, and we had a number of students and staff who are at the school both wearing masks and not as well.
And what are some of those measures that are in place now to make sure that people still feel safe?
Well, clearly students and staff have the choice to wear masks depending on their own particular circumstance and comfort level. We do have our sanitation stations that are exactly where they always have been. We do have masks available. We've made sure that our enhanced cleaning protocols are still in place as well. We ensure that our ventilation is circulating as it was prior to the break.
I think it's good that now people sort of have a choice and they are able to do what makes them most comfortable, whether it is to wear a mask or not to. I've been getting really good feedback from the classes and my friends. I know some people who didn't really like the mask or felt like they couldn't breathe as well are now more comfortable coming to school and in person, and then the people who still want to wear a mask, like me, are also comfortable still wearing the masks. I walked into class, and even the people who I was in grade 9 with, I saw them, I was like, whoa, you guys look so different. It was so weird.
My impressions are pretty good, to be honest, because I feel it gives people the options whether to wear a mask or not, which makes them feel more comfortable with what they want and their needs. I would honestly say it's split down the middle because on the first floor it's not many people wearing them, but the second floor more people wearing the mask, so it depends where you are in the building, but it's pretty split evenly, I would say. We're pretty supported either way because whether we choose to keep the mask on or not, everybody's pretty supportive and no one's judging anybody, so I think that's pretty good here. It felt pretty good, to be honest. It's a change, and I didn't know, I just would know their eyes, but now you can put a face to the person's voice, so I think that's pretty cool.
In other COVID-related news, the mass vaccination clinic at Devonshire Mall will close its doors next month. After 9 months and after administering close to 225,000 jabs, the clinic will close on April 2nd. Meanwhile, 24 people remain in hospital because of COVID-19 in Windsor-Essex. 2 of those patients are in the ICU. And also today, the city of Windsor ended its declaration of a municipal emergency, which was put in place 2 years ago on March 20th, 2020, when the pandemic began. And weeks after protesters disrupted Canada's trade with the U.S. by blocking the Ambassador Bridge, the provincial government is introducing new legislation to better protect the flow of traffic and trade across international border crossings from a repeat of what happened in February. The proposed Keeping Ontario Open for Business Act 2022 would give law enforcement more tools at the ready without needing to invoke a provincial emergency, something the province did last month to respond to the protests. The legislation would let police officers suspend driver's licenses and vehicle permits, seize license plates of those involved in an illegal blockade, as well as remove and store other objects contributing to a blockade. Meanwhile, a joint operation involving 3 levels of law enforcement has been trying to freeze about $1 million in cryptocurrency raised for the so-called Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. But a CBC investigation has found that more than 70% of the assets appear to have evaded seizure so far. David Fraser has more on how the money is being moved.
In various live streams and self-made videos, Nicholas St. Louis walks from truck to truck in downtown Ottawa, handing out envelopes, telling drivers how to cash out Bitcoin donations to the Freedom Convoy.
Remember how I came and gave you some sats? Yep. There's $8,000 of Bitcoin in there. Oh, in here? In there.
St. Louis has not been charged for his actions in the protest, and he declined to speak with CBC. But according to his own affidavit from a separate civil case, police officers searched his home 2 weeks later, seizing $250,000 worth of Bitcoin. In total, authorities seem to have recovered less than 30% of the roughly $1 million in cryptocurrency donations since the federal government invoked the Emergencies Act a month ago.
Crypto wallets have been shared by the RCMP with financial institutions, and accounts have been frozen.
The act authorized the freezing of convoy assets, but CBC's own blockchain research reveals large amounts of funds continued to be moved in the days after. In one example, a main account containing 15 Bitcoins was emptied into a secondary wallet. It was then used as an intermediary to disperse smaller increments into 101 different wallets. And just like that, more than $700,000 worth of Bitcoin appears to have evaded capture. People even boast about it on the internet.
The freeze orders themselves are personally, I think, are of limited practical value.
Crypto lawyer Matthew Burgoyne says police face an uphill battle in their investigation.
And it's so easy for someone to transfer cryptocurrency from wallet to wallet, peer to peer, in a way that doesn't involve cryptocurrency exchanges that are regulated, in a way that doesn't involve financial institutions.
The RCMP won't confirm or deny any investigation, but says it does have the capacity to recover crypto assets and use a variety of police procedures to tackle crypto crime. David Fraser, CBC News, Ottawa.
To the latest now on the situation in Europe. Talks aimed at ending Russia's invasion of Ukraine have resumed. A Ukrainian negotiator says top officials held a 90-minute video session, and further discussions have now split into various working groups. And as the talks continue, so does the bombing. CBC's Evan Dyer has the latest.
Today is day 26 since Russian troops invaded. It was another day of catastrophic destruction. Another day of death and funerals. Russian forces have been most successful in the south, where they're close to achieving one of their main goals. Only the city of Mariupol now stands in the way of linking the Russian-occupied Donbass to Crimea, which Russia annexed in 2014. Local officials reported fierce fighting in the city center.
I think nothing will remain there, only ruins.
This woman escaped Mariupol and just reached the relative safety of Lviv. She had to leave her husband and son.
There are people, soldiers, who are lying on the ground. No one cares about them. No one buries them.
President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that 4,000 residents made it out of Mariupol yesterday, but that's only 1% of the city's population. Meanwhile, concerns were growing after Russian aircraft struck an art school being used as a shelter. There were no military positions there, Zelensky said. There were about 400 peaceful people, mostly women and children, and elderly, now under the rubble. Overnight, Mariupol's defenders rejected a Russian ultimatum to surrender. For weeks, Russian forces have struggled around Kyiv. Ukrainian forces are focused on keeping supply lines open and trying to keep Russian artillery out of range of the city center. But last night, a major shopping center was hit, killing at least 8 people. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko warned residents that fires were generating dangerous smoke and urged residents to stay inside and breathe through COVID masks. He also ordered a curfew until tomorrow. Ukrainian forces have so far prevented the Russians from closing a ring around Kyiv, but as rocket fire continues, some of the city's suburbs are now starting to look more like Mariupol. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine has triggered a worldwide outpouring of support for Ukrainians and their efforts to repel the attacks. Countries, organizations, and individuals are sending whatever help they can. That includes a group in Latvia that's collecting and driving vehicles loaded with supplies into the war zone. And the group believes their efforts will help protect the security of Latvia as well. CBC's Briar Stewart explains.
The final instructions before a 15-hour drive across 3 countries. This journey is about a delivery. 17 cars are headed from Latvia to Ukraine for the country's territorial defense units.
This one is going, Nissan Navara, Ford Ranger is going.
Martin Donita says all of these cars have either been donated or purchased by his garage at a deep discount.
If you call people who are selling 4x4 vehicles and you say, okay, but that's for Ukraine, so what can you do? And they say, okay, let's go for half a price. So everyone is so supportive.
Dozens of vehicles have already been delivered to Ukraine near the front line.
Slava Ukraini!
Where roads are rough and vehicles can easily be damaged. Before they hit the road, a team of mechanics makes sure they're good to go, and valuable cargo, including gas, is loaded up.
In addition to all of the cars that are being taken to Ukraine, people are coming to drop off donations to send as well. In this car, someone has brought sleeping bags, power banks to charge phones, and clothing.
Some not only donate their cars, but volunteer to drive them as well.
Thinking also about our own security and our society as well. So I think, yes, of course, I need to help.
And that fear is at the root of most of the volunteer effort. On this trip, a few Latvians are hitching a ride on the convoy so they can join the fight in Ukraine.
Everyone knows that we are next. So it's as simple as that. If Russia is stopped in Ukraine, then they don't come here. As easy as that.
You really believe that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Which is why those heading down say these cars and this trip are the least they can do, because this is not just about Ukraine. Briar Stewart, CBC News, near Riga, Latvia.
Amid the escalating violence in Ukraine, a Canadian baby born to a surrogate has been rescued from Kyiv. The boy is less than 10 days old.
Oh my goodness.
Members of an American nonprofit organization picked up little Ari and delivered him to his parents, who had traveled from Canada to a city in western Ukraine to be united with him. The family has now safely crossed into Poland, according to the organization called Project Dynamo. And with that, we'll take a nice look outside there. The sun is shining, just another beautiful spring day. And after the break, we'll take a look at your weather. Colette will be here. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy joins us now for a look at our weather, and what a great time to do this because it is the first time that we get to hear from you since spring launch. So happy spring.
Happy spring is right. I felt like, I should have pom-poms and be a cheerleader for it. Here we are, we made it. Of course, officially yesterday with the equinox at 11:33, so late morning, but today's our first full day, and what a treat we've certainly had in terms of seeing these temperatures in the mid-teens. The daytime highs illustrated for you here, so 15 degrees in the Windsor area, and lots of teens showed up. A little cooler towards the nation's capital, and cooler still into northeastern Ontario, North Bay, Sudbury, a little bit chillier. Didn't quite get that warmth there, but hey, still holding now at 14 degrees in double digits for Chatham-Kent. We do have this warm front with a somewhat weaker system that's kind of moved in, and with that, we have this line of precipitation here, just sort of around Sarnia, a bit further north. It's picked up some moisture from the lake there and pushing it across towards London, in towards Norfolk County. And what's going to happen with this is it's nearly stationary sort of in that area through the overnight, and then it actually dissipates towards morning. So rather than moving further in or backing up, we're just going to see that, watch this as I put this into motion, kind of just dissipate into the cloud cover. Now we are going to have more cloud cover into tomorrow, and then as we get into the later part of the day, an increasing chance for getting into some showers, and then we will get into more significant rain as we go overnight Wednesday, and at times we'll be seeing that through the day on Wednesday. Even still, really unsettled conditions as we go into Thursday and Friday. So we'll show you what the temperature story is to go along with that in just a moment here. Just around freezing or below for London, so at times a little bit of mixed precipitation possible, a bit drizzly that we'll be seeing in that area. So just watch out for some slickness on the roadways, especially, if you have to be out in the overnight hours until that kind of disappears for us. A look at tomorrow afternoon, all right, kind of cutting in half those daytime highs, but still they will be milder. And then they push right back up into Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be seeing that, but watch out on Wednesday because there'll be that kind of dip in the morning, but we'll see those temperatures warm enough, at least in southwestern Ontario, that it stays as rainfall. Elsewhere, a little further east, if you have to do some traveling, looking at some freezing rain there for Wednesday morning.
There you go. It's not spring without some spring showers, right?
It's not without all these ups and downs. We still have some of that to get through.
Exactly. Thanks for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, we are going to take a look at how the pandemic has affected parents. Stay with us. Welcome back. A new survey reveals just how difficult the pandemic has been for parents and their children across the country. The research, conducted by the Angus Reid Institute in partnership with the CBC, included feedback from 2,500 parents. It found that they've been dealing with many challenges, including remote learning. But there is also a silver lining. Chris O'Neill-Yates explains.
This survey says the past 2 years have been tough on Canadian children and their parents in terms of mental health and physical health. Hit worst are people in low-income bracket with poor access to health care, especially the immunocompromised and new Canadians. 7 in 10 parents said remote learning had been difficult for them and their kids, especially those with children from 6 to 17. And that really stands out in this survey, the extent to which parents feel frustration. 2 out of 3 felt that decision makers have not been listening to parents and let them and their children down.
It was very much a yo-yo of openings and closings and extended breaks and Christmas school closing for longer, Christmas breaks being extended, etc. Through all of that, parents have not only had to navigate what am I going to do with the kids through this time if I'm back to work or if I'm working from home, but also, are my children actually getting the knowledge that they need to be cramming into their little heads?
But on a positive note, Curl says children have been showing amazing resilience throughout the pandemic, and they've had good support networks to help them navigate and their parents to navigate the past 2 years. That's how Amy Grace feels. She says it's been tough in many ways, but her 6-year-old daughter is doing fine.
I also think too, this is not the first time. We're not the first generation to deal with something like this, and we're not the first group of people to have to suffer because there's something going on in the world.
And of course, we probably have not seen the end of the kinds of restrictions and changes that parents and kids will have to adapt to. Chris O'Neill-Yates, CBC News, Halifax.
That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. And you can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night.